Hey everybody, welcome to Word Focus. In case you don't know me, I'm Pastor Steve. And so this Sunday I've had the privilege and honor of preaching for our main services. Title of this weekend's message is Protect the Gift. Protect the Gift. I believe and been led to preach about gifts and callings on everyone's life. I believe that God has placed gifts and callings on every single one of his children, and not just for our benefit, but God places gifts and callings, destiny and purpose on each and every one of us for a heavenly purpose. I believe that God wants revival to spill out of the four walls of the church and bring transformation and change across our cities and our nation. And so this message, we're looking at this really cool story in Numbers chapter 22. And this message is focusing on the story of a guy named Balaam. And as you know, in studying this story, it really felt led and convicted, challenged on the topic of protecting your gift. I'm going to mention a few things from the story, but really it'll be so much more rich and you'll really get the depth of everything if you jump in and read. There's a king of Moab who knows he's about to be destroyed by the nation of Israel. God brought his people out of Egypt, and the nation of Israel, on their way to the promised land, has been going to war, going to battle with different nations, different cities. God said, wipe these people out. God refers to the wickedness of all of these groups of people, and he tells his nation, wipe them out. Well, Moab, in Numbers chapter 22, is the next on the list, right? They're right there on the way to the promised land. So the king of Moab is freaking out. His people are freaking out. They know that they're not strong enough to fight off the nation of Israel. So the king of Moab goes to this guy named Balaam. Balaam is not a Jew. He's not from the nation of Israel. But as the story unfolds, we see that Balaam actually has a relationship with God, the same God of the nation of Israel, same God. And Balaam actually has a gift or a power, if you want to put it that way, that is given to him by God. And as the story unfolds, we can see this. The king of Moab sends a delegation to talk with Balaam to convince him to receive payment in order to curse God's people. This is verse 5. Sent messengers to Balaam, the son of Beor, at Pethor, which is near the river in the land of the people of Ammah, to call him, saying, behold, a people has come out of Egypt. They cover the face of the earth, and they are dwelling opposite me. Come now, curse this people for me, since they are too mighty for me. Perhaps I shall be able to defeat them and drive them from my land. For I know that he whom you bless is blessed, and he whom you curse is cursed. So the king of Moab knows this guy Balaam has, people know about him. He's got some power, if he's sending money, because he knows if this guy curses someone, they're cursed. If he blesses someone, they're blessed. So he's trying to get this guy on his side. And so this is where the story begins to unfold. So on the topic of protecting your gift, what happens in the story is really interesting. And so this is the challenge. I'm going to keep saying this over and over and over again. We have to protect our gift. We have to protect our call, what God has created us for, what he's called us for. So the first challenge to everyone listening is this: Balaam is not for sale. That's the first half. Twice, the king sends a delegation to Balaam. He sends one delegation. Balaam receives them into his home. They offer him money. They ask him to do all of these. They ask him to curse this nation that's come out of Egypt. Balaam goes and has a conversation with God. God tells him, no, don't do it. Those people are blessed. Do not curse them. So Balaam tells the Moabites, I can't do it. I can't do it. Go back home. I can't do it because my God said no. So then the delegation goes back. The king is not satisfied with that answer. So then he sends another delegation. Verse 10, and Balaam said to God, Balak the son of Zippor, king of Moab, has sent to me, saying, behold, a people has come out of Egypt, and it covers the face of the earth. Now come and curse them for me. So he's having this conversation with God. Verse 12, God said to Balaam, you shall not go with them. You shall not curse the people, for they are blessed. Now let's jump to verse 14. So the princes of Moab rose and went to Balak. They went back home and said, Balaam refused to come with us. Verse 15, once again, Balak sent princes and more in number and more honorable than these. So he levels up. He raises the stakes. And they came to Balaam and said to him, thus says Balak, let nothing hinder you from coming to me, for I will surely do a great honor, and whatever you say to me, I will do. Come and curse these people. So that's two offers, keeps raising the stake. So this is the first challenge for everyone watching today. Are we for sale? Is your gift for sale? And not just with money, but when it comes to social currency as well. A lot of Christians, and I'm not here to attack anyone, but this is something to be aware of. It's really hard nowadays because, it's not just our wallets that get hit, but social currency as well. This whole thing with cancel culture or, losing followers on Instagram. It might be easy to say, oh, I don't care about the money. I'm not for sale. But then for you personally, the thought of losing people, losing relationships, losing followers, losing approval might be worse to you than actual monetary loss. But that's the thing, whether it's actual currency or social currency, we can't be for sale. If God says no to something, we got to protect that. We have to protect the gift on our lives. And we have to make the stand that we're not for sale, whether it's social currency or actual currency. We can't be bought. We can't be for sale. So that's the first one. Let's continue. Balaam says no. But Balaam answered and said to the servants of Balak, though Balak were to give me his house full of silver and gold, I could not go beyond the command of the Lord, the Lord my God, to do less or more. That's a big statement. He's saying, again, good job, Balaam. He's saying, no, I can't do it. More or less, it's all on God. I can't do it. But here's where the story takes a shift, okay? In verse 19, and this would be the second challenge here. So you too, Balaam says to the delegation, so you too, please stay here tonight, that I may know what more the Lord will say to me. The reason this is where the story takes a turn is God has already made it clear what Balaam can and cannot do. God says, don't go with them, don't do it. So Balaam doesn't kick them out of his house. He doesn't just say, no, I can't. He says, all right, God said no, stay here the night. I'll go talk to God again. I don't know about you, but this is something that I've definitely done in my life. I know God is directing me and saying, no, stay away from that. Don't do that. That's not for you. Either it's a relationship or a deal or I don't know, whatever it might be. And we know that God is saying no, but then we're like, God, come on, God, maybe this, or we're trying to convince God, maybe he made a mistake, or, maybe, we don't let the conversation end at God's no. And so what is Balaam doing here? He's not protecting the gift. Balaam is flirting with something that God said no to. He's trying to twist God's arm, even though you can't do that. But so that would be the second challenge. If God says no, let it be a no. I'm not saying that's easy. That's probably one of the hardest things in life, is when we want something, we have a desire, we see an opportunity for financial gain or some kind of gain in life, and God says no, don't do it. But when God says no, stop flirting with it. Stop rubbing shoulders with it. Stop trying to go back to God and convince it. If he said no, let it be a no. And kick people out of your house, metaphorically speaking, okay? Kick the people out of your house, kick the delegation out of your house, and stand firm. If we're gonna protect the call on our life, or if we're gonna protect the gift, we gotta stand firm on what God says no to. God then meets with Balaam again. And it seems like God changes his mind. God meets with Balaam and says, okay, you can go. God allows Balaam to go. So Balaam wakes up the next day and then he goes. Verse 20, it says here, but God's anger was kindled because he went, and the angel of the Lord took his stand in the way as his adversary. So what just happened? God tells Balaam, if you want to go with them, you can go with them, but you have to do everything I say. Balaam wakes up, gets all of his stuff together, he departs, and God gets mad. So maybe if you're reading that, you're thinking, wait, but God told me he can go, why is he mad? See, what unfolds in this story is it shows that God knows not just what Balaam is doing, but why Balaam is doing it. God sees the heart of the issue. God sees the why behind the what. And so God sends an angel to stop Balaam from making a destructive decision. In our lives, I think this applies to each and every one of us. A lot of times we love to talk about the grace of God and we're saved and God is for us and not against us. And I believe that that's true. But it's not always true in this sense. God has given each and every one of us, I believe, free will. He gives us the ability to choose between right and wrong. He empowers us to make decisions. But that doesn't mean everything we choose is always right. Just because you have the free will to choose does not mean that you don't always choose wrongly. And just because God has given each and every one of us free will does not mean that God is under any obligation to affirm our bad decisions, to affirm the wrong direction, not just that we're going in physically, but of our heart. This is what's happening in the story of Balaam. God says, you can go. I'm allowing you to go, but you got to listen to every word I say. Balaam goes, but God sees why Balaam is going, not just where he is going. So God sends an angel to oppose Balaam, to stop him from coming to a destructive end, to stop him from cursing his people. So as you seek to protect the gift that God has placed on your life, remember this. Just because we're saved by grace doesn't mean all physical consequences are now erased from our life. Even if you're going to heaven, you can still live like hell on earth to a point. You can make terrible decisions as a Christian. Again, God is not bound or obligated to stand idly by just and give you a thumbs up as you're making a mess of things. He will allow you to do that, but he's not going to affirm that. And sometimes we get frustrated wondering, why isn't God moving in my life? Why am I not blessed? Why this? Why this? Well, it might be the case that it's actually God that's opposing you. Not because he hates you or you're not his child, but actually God will work as an adversary, as a blockage or a wall in our life, not because he's against us, but because he's actually trying to stop us from meeting destruction. The last point I'm going to make is this. What happens is the angel shows up. Balaam is riding a donkey. The donkey sees the angel, but Balaam does not. The donkey keeps changing directions to get away from this angel. It says that God sends an angel. The angel is standing there with his sword drawn. Balaam gets so mad at his donkey that he begins to beat his donkey. He whips and abuses his donkey on 3 times. All the donkey is trying to do is get away from this scary looking angel. What happens is the donkey finally gives up and lays down, and Balaam is so mad, he keeps beating the donkey. Verse 28, then the Lord opened the mouth of the donkey, and she said to Balaam, what have I done to you that you have struck me these 3 times? And Balaam said to the donkey, because you have made a fool of me. I wish I had a sword in my hand, for then I would kill you. As we're seeking to protect the gift of God on our lives, number 1, when you make your gift and call all about personal gain, all about ego, all about what you can benefit, when you make your life all about you and not kingdom, then you will become abusive to people around you. You will become abusive to those who are carrying your weight, just like Balaam's donkey. On top of that, I find it crazy, absolutely crazy, that Balaam is not only beating his donkey, but But God allows the donkey to speak. And what does Balaam do? Balaam does not say, oh my God, it's a talking donkey. What does Balaam do? Balaam just responds back to the donkey and says, you made a fool of me. And if I could, I would kill you. Here's what I want everyone to get as you listen to this message. When we don't protect our gift, when we don't keep our heart in the right place, when we make our life all about gain and what we can get, when we allow our ego to drive the way, when we make fame, fortune, whatever earthly thing the point, then you will not only not be impressed with a miracle right in front of your face, but you'll be willing to kill the miraculous things that God is doing right in front of your life just because it's in your way. Think about this. Balaam has a talking animal right in front of his face. He's having a conversation with a donkey, and he's not impressed. He's not going, oh my God, since when can you talk? Oh my, nothing. He's just talking about killing the donkey because it made a fool out of him. This is a heart check moment for each and every one of us. If we really want revival, if we really want to protect what God has put in and on our lives, we cannot allow our life to be about us. We cannot put ourselves at the center of our universe. We can't be the God of our destiny. We have to remember what God has called us for. Because when it comes to our ego, when it comes to our call, if we make it all about us, then everything will be disposable. As it continues, the donkey challenges Balaam and says, haven't I been your donkey your whole life? I've been carrying you for ages and ages. Have I ever done this? This is a really interesting conversation. The donkey brings up the history of her and Balaam and kind of wakes him up. And Balaam answers and says, no, actually, no, you've never acted like this before. And then right after that is when the angel of the Lord is made aware to Balaam. Then he has a come to God moment, if you can say, and he repents and things are made well. But this is really another challenge when we don't protect the gifts on our lives, when we don't keep our ego in check, when we make everything about us and what we can gain and all of that. Then I love what the donkey actually challenges us on, which is really funny to say in a word focus. But the donkey brings up a good point. The donkey brings up with Balaam their long history. I've been with you your whole life. Have I ever acted like this? When we don't keep things in the right order, right perspective, right place, every relationship is disposable. I don't care if it's family, blood relatives, friends, spouse, kids. It doesn't matter who it is. When we make ourselves the God of our own universe, every relationship is disposable. People that God has brought into your life to be a strength, just like the donkey. What does a donkey do? A donkey carries weight. A donkey gets you and carries you from point A to point B. A donkey is brought in to serve a greater purpose. God is always bringing relationships and people around us that will be a strength, that will help carry the weight of our call. But if things aren't in proper order, all of those relationships become disposable. How can we have revival if we're not fighting for each other? How can the church have revival if we're not making a stand for each other? How can the church be a transformational tool? And how can we bring change to the world if we're not keeping everything in its rightful place? So this is why, as a church, we have to protect the call of God on our lives. Because I want to challenge everyone, go back, watch the full message. This is just a taste of what we've been talking about. But I love you guys. We'll see you next time on Word Focus.